Secrets to a deadly Americana. The Americana is one of the most famous submissions in Jiu Jitsu, and by the end of this video, you're gonna have it mastered. I'm gonna show you everything, how to set it up, how to finish it against better guys, how to not get rolled when you're finishing it, and some bonus hacks that you're gonna love. Are you ready? Well, let's get into it. If you don't know what the Americana looks like for the beginners, it looks like this. Breaks the shoulder, right? Rotator cuff. It looks very easy, but there's actually a lot of intricate details that go into it, especially to make it work against someone who's very good at Jiu Jitsu. But the key is you only get it typically from two positions. Mount, which is what we're gonna spend most of the time on today, and you could also get it from side control, which we're gonna spend a little bit of time. So the main thing is, hey, by the way, if you're loving this video, do me a big favor and subscribe. It is the easiest way that you could support me and help me help you. Now back to the video. So the main thing is, the first way we set it up, is he's gonna be keeping his hands tight together. It's gonna be tough to break these open. So I don't wanna use my arm versus his arm, because if we're the same strength, it's gonna be tough to get this down. I have to isolate one of these arms. So I like to make two of my arms one, find the wrist, and I like to push this to the floor. And I'm not just using my triceps pushing motion, I'm gonna use my body weight, right? So if he's here, I make two arms one, I get it on the wrist, and then I use my body weight to pin that down to the floor. Okay, so if he's here, and a lot of times he's gonna be a little more stubborn than that, so you have to kind of punch it. I just have to isolate it. Once it's isolated, we can start finishing the rest of it. But in the beginning, just this isn't gonna work. Oh, why isn't my Americana working? It's 2 to 1. Boom. Okay, and use your weight and your strength. Once it's pinned down, the next step is, my thumb has to be what we call a monkey grip. I don't wanna grab it like this, because then he could straighten his arm and it goes through my finger and my thumb. I wanna make a hook. So my thumb, instead of coming around, it comes over, making a hook. So now if he goes to straighten his arm, it goes into all my fingers and not through them. So we push down. Second step, my elbow drops right next to his neck, making a frame. Thumb stays over, and that's how we start it. From here, my other hand, I prefer to go palm up because it's just easier to get under this elbow. If you come here, sometimes it's hard, your knuckles get caught on his tricep. So I'll come under here until it's under, and then I'll turn it back. And again, no thumb grip. I'm not gonna go here. This will break your thumb. I'm gonna go here. So we're here, punch it, boom. Elbow drops, thumb grip goes over. I do like a scooping grip, palm up, come under. And then I go palm down. Now everything's connected. Elbows on the floor, palms on the floor. Another detail is I have to make sure his wrist stays on the floor. A lot of mistakes happen when you start to go for the finish and the wrist comes up. Keep his wrist pinned to the floor. Okay, next step, I bring the elbow down to his body. He's already wanting to tap. If he doesn't tap by the time his elbow gets down to his rib, then we lift. Look, we only have to lift an inch. If I do it from here, look how high I have to lift this, and I might get rolled. If I bring everything down while keeping his wrist, that's why they call it the paintbrush. But I do it opposite. Instead of lifting and then painting, I bring it down first, and then I just lift an inch, and you get a nice, tight tap. So what happens to most people who get the Americana, they do everything I just showed correctly, everything's ready to go, they start pulling the elbow back, they start lifting, they get their armpit pushed, or they just get rolled. And this happens often, and this is why you learn the Americana as a white belt and then you never really use it again. You don't want to get rolled. It happens a couple times and you're like, that sucked, I'm not doing that again. But you don't have to get rolled. So the way to not get rolled is to anchor to him. So as I push this down, right now, as I'm, like even before I'm thinking about finishing, my left leg is gonna hook in a grapevine motion and I'm gonna drop my hip right on him. So as long as he can't undo that hook, he's not gonna be able to roll me anymore. So as he tries to roll me, it anchors to him, I get my finish. So it's always opposite. If I'm going for the Americana on this side, I anchor this opposite side. If I'm going for the Americana on this side, I immediately start anchoring the other side. It's not just an anchor, it's an anchor and drop your hip bone right on his hip bone. And now as I go for it, he tries to roll me, I I activate the hook nice and tight until he's done pushing, and then I finish. So common problems that can happen right from the get-go is the guy is too strong. You can't isolate, even if you do it the way I showed where you punch it, you can't isolate. He's just too strong, can't get his wrist to the floor. So I kind of use that against him. If he's holding everything so tight, then instead of his arm, instead of his arm doing that, if he's so tight, when I do that, sometimes his body rotates. So the first thing you try is going back and forth until you can punch one down. Oh, and then maybe you punch one down. The second thing is if it's just not going down, a lot of times, keep everything tight in this unit, that happens. I can make his elbow come up, his other one. And when that happens, I drop my chest and my belly right behind his elbow on his tricep, and I start leaning forward to expose it, and then my hand comes around his neck into the gift wrap position. From here, I can go to arm bars, I can go to head arm triangle chokes, I can do back takes. The world is yours once you're here. I can punch him in the face. There's nothing he can do. So once I get this gift wrap, my favorite thing to do is to take the back. Into the back position. But it opens up options. Okay, so again, boom. You don't know which one he's gonna do? Boom. We get it down, we go back to what we were doing before. If his arm just does not disconnect from his chest, a lot of times, my new focus is to get him to turn rather than to get his arm down. So instead of punching this, I'll kind of just move him. Drop the chest, now he can't get it back. Gift wrap, Kimura grip, and then we go take what we want from there. Another thing that can happen is I do get this broken off from his chest and I do get it down, but before I could finish the Americana, he went to go save it with his other arm. We do the exact same thing I just showed. He's making a big mistake by bringing his elbow up. I drop my chest, hand comes around the neck, I feed this over to this, and now I'm back to that gift wrap where I can take the back. I can go to an arm bar if I want the arm bar. I can take the head arm triangle, right? But this is not a video on those submissions, this is the video on the Americana. So I'm just showing you different options from there. Push it down, he goes to save it. And I do this to black belts, brown belts, purple belts. They always go to save it. It's crazy. Boom, boom, and we go and take. Another trick is if you do get the wrist down, he doesn't go to save it. You get the elbow down and you lock your Americana grip, but he's just crazy strong. He's like lifting his arm up off the ground, he's straightening it. You're just not getting the tap. What you can do from this grip, it's a very strong grip and it's very hard for him to get his elbow out. Instead of finishing the Americana, what we'll do is we'll just lift it up and we'll push it to this side. Try to get your elbow free. It's gonna be hard for him to get his elbow out, which is gonna give me perfect time to slide up into an S-mount position, lean, and take the arm bar. Very hard to get out when I do it that way. All right, so here's a nice black belt hack that I do a lot. So sometimes I get the wrist down, and you get a guy who's just really good at rolling you over. Even if you're hooking the leg here, somehow people just kick the hook out and still roll you over sometimes. And they're really good at that Heisman type escape where they grab the elbow or armpit. So what I'll do here is I push this to the ground, and he's not going to save it, he's waiting. The guys like to wait so they can push you over. I release one hand, I keep all my weight here. There's no way he gets this out. All of my weight and my elbow locked out on this wrist, it's gonna stay. My other hand comes under and I feed it to here. So now I have his head and an Americana. And this is like a white belt move that white belts do because they think they're doing the Americana correctly, and it's not, but it's something I adopted from that because it actually works. So from here, there's no way he rolls me over now because I only have one hand on it. If he tries to roll me over while I'm doing this, with your right hand on my armpit, it's not gonna work. He's gonna take his face with him. So now I come under and now I just finish right here. So it's like the wrong way to do it, but it works really well. So again, push it down, boom, go to the shoulder pressure, feed it over, come over, and I can still lock the hip down, but now I have his head in the mix too. And I just pull it down. Final tip, if this isn't working, if I'm right here and this isn't working, he's too flexible, his elbow goes up super high, I do what we call the one arm Americana. So all I'm gonna do is replace my left hand with my right. There's a little piece of meat here, I'm gonna grab it. And now, so before we get to that, I just want you to know the Americana is one of the #1 ways that I set up other submissions. I use the Americana to set up multiple different submissions. And I teach you all of those submissions and more in my new 2.0 Matt Arroyo Online Academy. You'll get 16 of my best-selling courses as well as live virtual coaching from me. Click the link below to get started today, and I'll see you on the inside. Now back to the video. I'm gonna grab it. And now, because I only have one hand, I can push this thing back as far as I need to get a break. This is as far as I can go here. But when I do one hand, look, I could have brought it all the way over here. Again, boom. And I can do this if I'm just going for the Americana. It's not working. He's super flexible. It's as far as it goes. Okay, hand it over. Hand out for base in case he tries to roll me. And we get him with one hand. And there might be a little wrist lock here too. So if you're gonna get Americana from the side, I told you I would touch upon the side a little bit. My biggest tip here is to do it from case gatame, which we call control 3. You have all this open space. Same principles that we talked about from the mount. I'm not just gonna grab it and push it. He's too strong. I gotta, boom, I gotta pop it. So I always use the phrase smack, grab, turn, take. So we smack, grab. Notice I didn't wait until this was perfectly planted on the floor before I came under. In the side control, I do it right here. This hand's ready to go. You gotta get good at this. How much easier is it to move his wrist from here to here than to move his wrist from here all the way perfectly on the floor? Much easier. Oh, smack, grab, smack, grab. Let's do that 100 times. Smack, grab. We're here, Mr. Move. Smack, grab. Smack, grab, turn, take. So I'm not gonna finish it here. I gotta turn my body square to his. Elbow drops to the floor, knee goes to his hip. Same principles, wrist to the floor, pull the elbow back to the rib, he's already tapping. If his shoulder was more flexible, I would have to bring his elbow all the way down and then I could lift it up. But that's it, smack, grab, turn, and then take means just slide the wrist down, lift it. And just know for a fact that if you're going with better guys, they're not just gonna tap there, they're gonna straighten their arm. So I'm always ready. Any Americana I go for from side control, I'm always ready to get the straight arm lock. I always think he's gonna straighten it and I'm gonna get the straight arm lock. So if I'm thinking that now, it's much easier to transition to it when I'm going for it. So I already have my preloaded steps ahead. It's like chess. I'm already ready for the next move. So as I smack, as I'm grabbing, they usually straighten it. And then look, I push the elbow straight down right now. I do it, I don't wait. As he straightens it, I'm already pushing down for the elbow lock. The straight arm bar. Okay, and then it goes from here. He'll turn it this way. I can go to Razor, I can go to Kimura. But those are different submissions for a different time that you can find in my online academy. So if you practice all these, you will get this mastered. There's a reason it's the most popular submission in all of jiu-jitsu. It's one of the first ones you learn. What happens is typically guys learn it in the beginning and then later they throw it away. You don't have to throw it away. You can use it. I use this all the time. I use it every time I roll. You just have to do it with the details that I showed today and it will work against the better guys. So give it a try.